Welcome you all in the series of special work related to the construction. In today's lecture, we again continue with the previous lecture. That means the method that can be utilized for the different work related to the branches. Okay, so we just continue with the one by one method. So here we seen like we have different 5 categories in terms of method. So each and every method related to the branches. Again, I want to share one thing, that whenever we are going to discuss about the trenches work, only one thing that kept in mind is all the time we are discussing in terms of depth, means in how much depth we are going to excavate. Depending on that, we choose any of the method, and the method is represented like stay bracing, box sheet, vertical sheet, runner system, and the last one is sheet piling. So continue with the one by one. So here is the condition number 1. When and why we use the stay bracing method. So students, keep that one thing in mind clearly, that whenever we are discussing any of the method, that method depending on only two conditions. Number 1, the characteristics and the classification of soil, and number 2, in how much depth you need to go in terms of excavation. Clear? So if I'm talking about in terms of example, that means which type of soil you have and how much depth you want to go in terms of excavation. Only those two conditions are depending on selection of any of the method. So when we're discussing about the method number 1, then what it indicate? It indicate like when we have very firm soil. Very firm soil, that means very smooth soil, and we need to excavate maximum up to 2 meter. At that time we use the method number 1. Okay, so clear these things in your mind. Second thing, this method consists different types of component. The first component is represented as a vertical sheet, which is also called as sheetening or polling board. Then after we use the different type of strut. So indirectly we have two components. Number 1, vertical sheet, and number 2, strut. So according to the component, when we use the vertical sheet or polling board or setting, at that time we have the dimension. The width is maximum 200 mm and the thickness is maximum 44 to 50 mm. So it is equivalent to 200 equal to 20 centimeter and 44 to 50 equal to 4 to 5 centimeter. The dimension is only relevant for the polling board. And then the second one is strut. The strut is represented in terms of dimension are 100 by 100 mm, and the second one is 200 by 200 mm. But when? The question is like, when we use 100 by 100 and when we use 200 by 200. So now we take an example. For example, we have this side condition and we need to excavate in terms of depth maximum up to 2 meter. So when we have the width of your trenches up to 2 meter, at that time we use 100 by 100 mm strut. And when the width is more than 2 meter and maximum up to 4 meter, at that time we use 20 by 20 mm strut. Okay, so later on we discuss particular example. So consider this is the figure number 1 and this is the figure number 2. So in figure number 1, the vertical sheet, it is also represented as the polling board. First we place according to our requirement. Then after that, polling board is fixed with the inclined one, and that inclined one is represented as the strut. So what is the procedure? So procedure is something like, first we need to provide the trench, that means we go with the excavation. Then after, for the surrounding area, for the surrounding soil, we need to support like that cannot be overcome on my excavation area. So because of that, I use the polling board or sheeting, and that polling board is fixed with the help of strut. Clear? Now, sometime it will be happen that the soil condition is very much smooth. Okay, if the soil condition is fair enough, that can be utilized only with a single installation process, that it is okay. But sometime it will be happen that your soil is very smooth, so that time I also provide the two layer of strut. Okay, so in the figure number 2 you can easily see that we use the two level. This is the first and this is the second, either or you can call as a two level. Clear? Here we use two level of the strut. Why? Because providing the hard strengthening of my surrounding area. Clear? So this is known as the stay bracing method. Now move toward the next method, which is represented as the box sheet method. So the first condition, what I told you earlier stage, I told that only two conditions are enough to determine which type of method will be utilized. So again, the classification of soil and the depth of your excavation. So here is the condition, like when you have loose soil and you need to go up to 4 meters. So if these two conditions are fulfilled during your site visit, at that time we use box sheet trenches method. Sometimes it may be happen that we have very loose soil, like in condition number 1 you have smooth soil as well as very smooth soil. So according to that, sometimes we have loose soil and sometimes we have very loose soil. So in the second condition we utilize different two methods. First method relevant to the loose soil and the second method relevant to the very loose soil. So first we talk about the loose soil condition. So if you have loose soil and need to undergo up to 4 meters, at that time first the vertical sheet is placed very nearer to the each other, or also called as touching to the each other, and keeping them in the position. That means we need to fix that vertical sheet, and for that purpose again I use some of the vertical and some of the longitudinal row, and that longitudinal row are called as the well, and that well also fixed or provided with the help of strut. So some of the procedure is look like, first we install the vertical sheet. That vertical sheet will be fixed with the using of a longitudinal row. That longitudinal row called as a well, and that well also fixed and hinge with my vertical sheet with the help of strut. Okay, so this is the simplest process of the installation procedure of for the box sitting method. In which condition? When you have loose soil. Now sir, what happening for the very loose soil? When you feel that you have very loose soil, then just change the position of whatever you are going to utilize in the method number 1. That's it. That means you just need to change the position. Like for example, when in the method number 1 you use the vertical sheet, so in the very loose soil we just change that direction. That means now we use in the horizontal condition. Same for the longitudinal row, we also change the direction, and for the strut we also change the direction. After changing direction of the all component, indirectly we completed the condition for the very loose soil. Okay, now here we take the condition number 1 and here we take the condition number 2. So these two conditions are for the loose soil, as you seen in the indication of the figure name. These two conditions are used for the loose soil. So in the first condition we seen like all the vertical sheet are fixed or touching each other. Okay, then after I provide the horizontal component, and that horizontal component is known as the well or wall. You want any of the pronunciation that you can use it. Now next, and that valve will be fixed with the help of longitudinal component, and that longitudinal component is represented as the strut. So sir, what is the simplest process of installation? So again I repeat, in terms of process, in terms of installation, first you need to install vertical sheet. Second, after that you install well perpendicular or horizontal, and third you install the strut that can be fixed by valve. Okay, so this is the condition number 1. Now sometime or all the time vitamin M is very much important for us. Sir, what is the meaning of vitamin M? That means money. So what I think that I did not provide that much vertical sheet, and instead of that I just provide some of the gap in between single sheet. So in the second matter, you can say easily that I just provide some gap in each and every sheet. Why? Because vitamin M. Clear? So the remaining process for the installation are same in the condition number 2. So I think we did not repeat it again. Clear? So these conditions are for the loose soil. Now as we discuss what we do for very loose soil. So as per my sentence, what we do just complete, like we just change our position. So here you can see easily that we just change the horizontal sheet pile instead of vertical, wells vertical instead of horizontal, and the strut remain same. Clear? So again I just go with the installation process. So first we use the horizontal sheet. That means we need to install horizontal sheet, then fix with the well, then after fix with the strut. So because of that I just complete my entire process. Now sometime what happening, you can see like you have very loose soil, but the condition of soil is very loose, so it cannot be completed to providing strut in the single layer. So we just convert or move toward the second method, where we use 2 layer of strut as well as providing the cross section or cross support, and that cross support is known as the brass or brass. Okay, now some of the students have the question, sir, why we choose the horizontal sheet? Okay, so the common answer is like, when you utilize the sheet in terms of horizontal layer, at that time you cover maximum area. Okay, so in any of the figure, either figure 1 or figure 2, like we just move toward the next slide, so you can easily compare the loose soil condition and the very loose soil condition. So you have the clear idea what is the main difference between them. And the reason why we provide the horizontal sheet, first condition, we cover the maximum area. Number 2, the number of sheet pile is less compared to loose soil. So again it is the matter for vitamin M. Clear? So this is the condition when we use box sheet trenches. Now sir, what about more than 4 meter? You told us that first method is utilized for the 2 meter, second method for the 4 meter. Then what about more than 4 meter? So for that we have the vertical sheet method. When we need to undergo up to the 10 meter and the soil condition is soft, so if that both condition fulfill, at that time I choose vertical sheet method. Okay, now sir, as we discussed and as we seen in so many sites, that more than 4 meters and up to 10 meter is some of the critical condition for the labor work, for the material work. So can we directly go up to 9 meter or up to 10 meter? No, it is not possible. So what we need to do? So when you need to go up to 10 meter, at that time you provide some of the stages, and that stages is represented as an offset. Okay, and each offset provide 8 some of the stages. Like, for example, consider this is your site, and the maximum length you need to undergo is equivalent to 9 meter. So according to the trenches method, we cannot use method number 1 or method number 2. Why? Because it is more than 4 meter. So we choose method number 3, and method number 3 is represented like when you have more than 4 meters and up to 10 meters, then you did not go directly up to the 9 meters or up to the 10 meters. So what sir indicate at that time, that sir indicate like you just provide some of the stages, and that stage is represented as the offset, and that offset is called as a platform. So now taken an example, here you need to go up to the 9 meter. So what happened? First you go with the 3 meter, then provide the offset, and that offset is represented as the platform. So this is your platform. Then go to 3 meters, again platform, again 3 meters. So this is your final situation, and same for the opposite side. So this is your actual area of excavated. Clear? So this method is represented like this. And the next question is, sir, what is the dimension of that offset or platform? So next point is represented for that. The particular offset or each and every offset or platform is vary from 25 centimeter to 50 centimeter, and each stage is maximum limited up to 3 meter. Okay, now, and as we discuss in the particular figure, that when we have the offset, that all the offset need to some of the support, and that support again providing by separate vertical sheet or the horizontal wheel or the strut. Okay, now move toward the example. So here your condition, like you need to go up to the 9 meter as sir discussed earlier. Then first you just go with maximum 3 meter, then you must provide the offset. That offset rise between 25 centimeter to 50 centimeter. Then again you need to go up to the 3 meters. Okay, so this is the condition of the box sheet method. Some of the example of trenches. Now I just give you 7 to 8 seconds. Clarify which figure. Suppose this is the figure number 1, this is figure number 2. Which figure relevant to which method? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, very good. Your all the answers and assumptions are right. Okay, so the first figure is represented for the stay bracing method, and the second figure is represented for the box sheet method. Clear? So in both conditions you just seen the same thing as we discussed earlier. Okay, so this is the example of the different method. Now the last method relevant to the method of particular trenches work, and that trenches work is related to the sheet piling. So sir, okay, I just want to add one thing. Then whenever at your site, if you digging more than 10 meter, then it is not called as a trenches. Okay, then it is converted as the excavation or foundation work. So here is the limitation of the trenches. That means you must go within 10 meter, and more than 10 meter it is not called as a trenches, it is called as a foundation work. Okay, so sometime it may be happen like some of the reason will be strike at your site. That time you cannot use any of the method. Like for example, if you have to undergo up to 5 meter or up to 6 meter, but because of any of the reason, the third condition will be not useful at your site. Why third condition? Because third condition indicate more than 4 meter and up to 10 meter, and my condition is fulfilled. How fulfill? Because I need to go up to 5 meters. But because of that, I just use condition number 3. But any of the reason will be strike at my site, and I did not utilize method number 3. So we have another 4 condition. When any of the condition will be happen at your site, at that time I choose directly condition number 4. Now, what are the different conditions? First, when the soil is to be excavated is soft or very loose. That means if the method number 1 and method number 2 not suitable at your site. Clear? Next, depth of the excavation is large. That means if we discussed earlier that we go with the number 3, when we choose the excavation up to 10 meters or more than 4 meters, then we have the method number 3. But because of some circumstances, I cannot use method number 3. So at that time, I choose method number 4. The width of the trenches is also large. If you see clearly in each and every slide, that time we just discuss in terms of width in method number 2, either or called as a box sheet method. And how much? It is up to 4 meter. So sir, sometime we also require more than 4 meter, then what happening? So at that time again I need to choose method number 4. And the last one is there is a subsoil water. It is also represented as the water condition or the groundwater table. Clear? Like for example, this is your site, you are starting to excavate, and up to the 2 meter or 2.5 meter there is a water table. So we cannot use method number 2 or method number 3. We directly choose method number 4. So this is the common 4 indication that can be utilized any of the site, and because of that I choose method number 4. Okay, and when we choose the method number 4, that time the sheet is driven into the ground by the mechanical. Okay, as we know that more than 4 meters or more than 5 meters, it is very critical condition for the human, that it cannot be providing such a way that I only use some of the mechanical process, and that mechanical process is known as the pile driving equipment. And the entire lecture will be utilized during the module number 1 or chapter number 1, like a pile foundation. When we discussing the pile foundation, we have one of the topic relevant to the pile foundation. At that time we just discussing about the pile driving equipments. Okay, so this is the example of sheet pile. When we choose the sheet pile method, the material used for the sheet pile is maximum in terms of steel, and you can see easily at the end of your sheet it is like a closed hand. Why it is like a closed hand? Because it is a process of the interlock system. Because of interlock system, you have the strong bonding among the single sheet. Okay, now here is the example. As we discussed in the earlier stages, that we have maximum width or larger width. Some of the condition that fulfill when we did not utilize any other method, either or number 1, number 2 or number 3. Time I also choose method number 4. Again we go with the another example. When you can clearly see the installation sequence of your sheet pile and the length in terms of or width of your trenches work. Okay, so this is the example relevant to the steel sheet trenches or steel pile trenches. Now this is only for the knowledge purpose how it is interlocked. So here is the three condition or three alternatives how you can interlock each and every sheet pile. And when you are going to utilize these things, this is how your final outcome will be look like. Your outer area, here it is your outer area, this is your particular excavation area, and that can be utilized for the transportation purpose. Okay, and for that type of work, the mechanically process used, and it is known as the pile driving equipment. We just skipped these things right now because in the chapter number 1 or module number 1, when we're discussing about the pile foundation, we have the entire topic. So at that time we just discuss it like this. Okay, so up to that we just complete one of the content of the series of special work relevant to the construction. From the next lecture we again start with the new content among this. So that's it for today's lecture. Hope you guys understand very well the method of trenches, the definition of trenches, definition of timbering in trenches, and during the second lecture and for first lecture. So thank you so much.